Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fawn, and today I'm sharing a card with a plastic window overlay greeting. This is one of my favorite techniques to do, not only for shaker cards, which I have shown before, but for cards where there's not really a good place for the greeting. I love the look of an overlay, and this is my favorite way to create it. I'm going to start with my stamped images from the Christmas Dreams stamp set. This is a brand new stamp set and coordinating dies from the Fall and Winter 2017 release. And I have already pre-stamped the tree, the presents, stocking, candle, fireplace, plate of milk and cookies, the dog, the rug, and then the little bone with the bow on some Nina smooth white cardstock. This is the heavyweight cardstock, and I'm coloring in my images with Copic markers. I used the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink to stamp my images. This is a Copic friendly ink, meaning it's not going to bleed when you start coloring with the alcohol ink markers. I have also listed each item I'm coloring, or each image I'm coloring, plus the colors I've used to color each of those. So I've listed them out on the screen. This is something new I've started doing just in the last couple weeks. I've always kind of listed the color numbers before, but I thought it might make it a little easier for my viewers to have the image, such as the dog, and then listed the colors that I used for that, then the tree, and so on and so forth. For the tree, I'm not doing a ton of blending. I used my base color. I went in with my darkest color and kind of flicked in some of that darkness, and then used my mid-tone, which kind of blended out the dark color too much. So I went back with my darkest color and pulled in a little bit more of this, just kind of underneath each layer, which gives the tree lots of texture. The red and white garland, I've listed my colors there. I've used two different red color combinations throughout the design. One more of I call a Christmas red, and the other one is a little bit deeper, darker autumn red is kind of the color combination. But I really have been enjoying the two color combinations, especially even used together. I've used them quite a few times. I think they work well if you don't want the same color combination throughout the design. Some yellows for the tree topper. Some of the tree topper is going to get lost after I frame up the design, which is fine. I have framed up my little Christmas scene here with a couple of dies from Lawn Fawn as well. But other than my Christmas Dreams stamps and dies, I am only using two other die collections from Lawn Fawn for this card, which is kind of unheard of. I was able to create the frame and the entire scene with just these three products. And the other products, you might have something similar at home that would even work. I think this set is so cute, the Christmas Dreams. I'm a dog person. I do like cats, but I have a dog, so I tend to be drawn to dogs. But this image, or this stamp set rather, comes with both a cat and a dog. So if you're more of a cat person, you could definitely switch out the little puppy for the kitty and put a little fish with a bow in the thought bubble that we're going to create coming up from the sleeping animal. You could put both of them down there. You could add additional images from other Lawn Fawn stamp sets to your Christmas scene. It's just a fantastic stamp set, perfect for creating all kinds of awesome Christmas cards. The little plate of milk and cookies is going to be sitting on top of the fireplace. I really like this fireplace. I decided instead of going with a traditional kind of red brick fireplace, which I thought there's a lot of red going on in this card, and I wanted something more subtle. So I wanted to look kind of like a white brick fireplace. To achieve this, I am adding shades of warm gray and blending those out with my lightest warm gray color, which is Warm Gray 00. And that is really going to help blend and mute that out. Darkening up back behind the fire with my darker warm gray colors. And I built up to the intensity. I purposely did not go as dark as I really needed it to be because I didn't want it to get too dark and black, but I really kind of had to work to get that color, and some of it bled into the flames, but I'm going to just color over those and it'll be fine. It won't be any problem. For the flames, I am using a combination of YR 31, 23, and 27, which are yellow-red colors. I really like these. This is the same color combination I used for my tree topper, and I'll use it for the flame on the candle as well. I hadn't really decided what I wanted to do with the top of the fireplace. If I wanted to keep it with the shades of white, or if I wanted to try to make a more wood looking top. So I left it blank, but I did end up going in with my warm grays and coloring it just like the rest of the fireplace. The log underneath the fire, however, is E55 and E57. Now the bone, I want it to appear to be white as well, but still have some great shading. To get this, I'm going to use Warm Gray 1 and Warm Gray 00. And for the bow, use some of my red colors with R24, 39, and 27, and some combination of that. The flame on the candle, like I mentioned, those same YR colors. The candle itself, I decided to go red with R24 and R39, and then to make it a red and white striped candle, I'll take a white gel pen and draw in some stripes. Much like I didn't mention for the rug, I wanted it to be polka dot, so after I colored it in, I added some polka dots with a white opaque pen. The stocking is aqua, and then the trim and the heart are red. Kind of a nice fun color combination. White detailing with my white pen again. I did a lot of detailing in different areas of the card to add interest to the design. Once I have this package colored in, this one is going to have some Stardust glitter pen to make it have kind of a glittery plaid look. A little hard to see in real life. Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen over the bow. Aqua package next with a red bow. I just alternated. Each of these are colored in the same color combination, just alternating the bow and the gift wrap. And for my final package, I am going to add polka dots to this one as well. Little ways to dress up your stamped images to really give them a lot of interest. I will, in fact, add Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to the fire in the fireplace and the flame on the candle, as well as any bows on packages and things like that. White opaque pen for details on the fire. And then I did die cut all of those with the coordinating Christmas Dreams dies. On a scrap piece of vellum, I am going to stamp the Thought Bubble from Christmas Dreams using Versamark ink, sprinkle on some Lawn Fawn white embossing powder, heat set this, and then die cut it. I wanted to be able to see through my Thought Bubble partially to the scene back behind, and you'll see that better here in a little bit. The bow will be on top of that, which it's not transparent, but the vellum is. So you still get that Thought Bubble feeling, but you'll be able to see through it to the fireplace back behind. I will die cut that with the coordinating die, and I'll just kind of lay it out here so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's the little Thought Bubble coming up from the sleeping puppy. So cute. Now I have laid out my outside in stitched scalloped rectangle. This is the largest rectangle from that die collection, and a stitched oval. The new outside in stitched scalloped rectangles, which is really kind of a mouthful, are brand new for the fall and winter release as well. I die cut that from some smooth white cardstock, and I'm playing with my stitched ovals, which have been out for a couple years now, trying to decide which size to use. This is the one I originally thought I would use, and I taped it down, and I looked at it and thought, you know what, this isn't right. I don't think this is, I think it's too big. So I'm going to go for one size down, and I'm going to die cut this, and I like the sizing of this much better, and I really think my scene will fit inside here. So I die cut that from my scalloped rectangle, and I want to keep both pieces. Before I ink anything up though, I want to make sure this is all going to work. So I want to lay out my die cut images, kind of make sure as far as sizing and spacing, everything works. That looks fantastic. I do want the bow from the Christmas Dreams stamp set to frame up my little frame here. So I'm going to stamp that, color it in with those darker, deeper red shades, my autumn red shades I call them, or wine red, I guess. And we will die cut that with the coordinating Christmas Dreams die. And that is going to frame up my card really nicely without adding bulk. So there's what it's going to look like. Again, I keep it kind of all laid out while I'm working on it so that in my mind I can think, you know, make sure it's all working. Now, while I still have my images laid out in the middle, I'm going to use a ruler and a pencil to draw a little straight line. This is going to help guide where the wall back behind my scene goes and then the flooring. And it might not be exactly straight, but it's close enough. I'm going to use some Post-it tape and mask off the flooring first and do the wall. I have got this stencil that's new to me from Tim Holtz. I often use bricked, which is one of my favorites, but I wanted to mix it up and use something different. This is the slate layering stencil, which is still going to give you kind of a bricked background, but I really like it. I'm using Pumice Stone Distress ink to ink up my background back behind here to give my wall some great texture. And I kind of like that it really coordinates nicely with the fireplace that I'm using. So once I have my wall all stenciled and inked up, I'm going to just switch my masking tape over that and take Peacock Feathers Distress ink and ink up my flooring so that I have this really awesome kind of aqua flooring that coordinates nicely with the aqua accents from or the teal accents that I colored for the Christmas Dreams images. Now there's the ceiling the wall and the floor, but I really think it kind of needs a baseboard. It really helps with the dividing the two. So I'm going to mask off the floor, just put another piece of masking tape up a little higher, maybe 1/8 of an inch, not very high. Go in with pumice stone and ink up that little space. And I think that really helps divide the two areas really nicely. A lot of it is not seen, but just a little bit of that helps with the visual effect. I sprayed a little water on this white Tonic Studios craft mat, and I'm going to wipe it clean before I put any of my white pieces out here so they don't get ink on them. And then I'm going to go ahead and start putting it all together. I'm just double checking, making sure you can see that my flooring is not straight across. It ended up not bothering me. A lot of times that would bother me. Once I kind of get all my embellishments and things in there, I think it's not quite as noticeable. So again, I like to double check and triple check a lot as I'm creating before I commit to adhesive. I'm going to take a white, or I guess I'm going to stamp my greeting first. So this is at the point where I need somewhere to put the greeting, and there's really nowhere good for it to go that doesn't take away from the framed up scene. I love overlays. So I've got some of this plastic. This is the Judikins embossable plastic actually. So if you don't have StazOn ink, you could stamp with Versamark and emboss with embossing powder if you want to, for the same kind of look. And I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas from Christmas Dreams first. And I'm going to do a two-tone effect. The Merry Christmas is going to be stamped with white StazOn ink. The rest of the greeting, which will read, "May all your holiday dreams come true," is going to be stamped with black StazOn ink. What I like to do is use my MISTI for this so that in the event that part of it doesn't stamp really nicely, I can press it down again and I don't have to worry about trying to get it lined up perfectly. I really need to move that stuff out of there so this stamps well, but I guess I left it. And there is the Merry Christmas. I'm going to line up the rest of it now. I couldn't really do them at the same time. They wouldn't get as close together as I wanted them to. So I'm going to move the Merry Christmas. I like to use StazOn cleaner over the image. I know that's out of the camera range. I just put STACKABLES cleaner right on my stamp, wiped it off with a paper towel, and then cleaned it with a stamp chamois to get all that STACKABLES ink off, because STACKABLES does really like to stick to your stamps. And then I will stamp the rest of my greeting with black ink. So I want to pick that up. Want to double check that my plastic, because it does tend to shift a little bit, it likes to stick to those clear stamps, is still lined up in that corner. Make sure that my greeting is lined up. Ink it up with the black ink and then press it in place. This is a good example of part of it not stamping. See that little area in the word dreams? If I had probably moved my stamped images there back behind, I wouldn't have had that trouble. I don't know why I left them there. So there is my two-tone greeting window that's going to actually go back behind my frame, and I'll show you that when I start putting it all together here. So I'm going to move all of my elements out. I'll trim down the plastic to fit behind the frame. And then I'm going to adhere my oval to a white side fold card base first. To do this, I like to wait to add the plastic frame or the transparency or vellum, whatever you're using behind the frame. I like to wait and adhere that until after I've positioned the oval. So the frame kind of serves as a template to adhere that right to your card base. Then I'm putting some nice strong adhesive on the back of my frame, centering my plastic, pop that right over there, and then start adhering all of my little Christmas Dreams components to finish building the scene. Starting with my fireplace, I want to make sure I've left enough room, and you want to use the whole space to really make it look like a snapshot of a moment in time, I guess is kind of how I look at it. I'm going to use my frame as a guide to the tree. I don't want to lose too much of the tree in the design. Part of the tree topper is going to be covered up, but I don't want to lose all of it. And then, of course, the bow is going to go on the front of the frame. I'm covering it with some Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen. And that kind of finishes off the outside because there's not a lot going on the outside part of the frame. It's like a matted picture, I guess is kind of how I look at it. Gauge where I want to put the little rug on the ground and the dog sleeping. Now I'm going to use a black gel pen for the dog's nose. Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen for the fireplace. Hang the stocking there. There's actually 2 different stockings in the stamp set, so if you want to do more, you could. I knew the other one would get covered up with my thought bubbles, so I didn't go ahead and add another one. I've attached the dog bone to the vellum thought bubble and then put a foam square back behind the solid bone part of it to hide that, so it's popped up a little bit, which gives it some nice dimension. Instead of using other foam adhesive, I am using my very favorite, the scrapbook adhesive thin foam squares. They are thin, but they still provide some nice dimension. Because this is not a shaker card and I don't have to worry about anything coming out, I'm going to use the foam squares simply because they don't lift the panel up as high, but they still give it that nice matted look and keep the greeting off of being flat right on the scene. Thanks for joining me today for this scene card featuring a greeting stamped on a plastic overlay using the Christmas Dreams stamps and dies from Lawn Fawn. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies from the Fall and Winter 2017 release that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.